Hello everyone and welcome to quick build guide for the build I'm running in Talisman softcore right now. Before I get started, here's actually a small riddle for those of you who have come to this video without actually having seen the build before. Um, I have two items here. One is a Clear Mind and the other one is a Quiver corrupted with X% of physical damage converted to cold damage. And the question is, can you, based on this, figure out what the build is about? You can take a short moment and pause the video if you want, but for the rest of you, let's just get to it. So this is a Blast Rain cast on crit build using Clear Mind, and it came to life from quite a thematic standpoint because I wanted to make a Blast Rain cast on crit character and I wanted to select matching spells for it. So what I did was use Firestorm and Bladefall. These are like the core components. And since scaling both of those spells at once is basically only possible with spell damage in its pure form, that's what I'm using in Clear Mind. Now, if I cannot reserve mana, then obviously you should either go Blood Magic or make somehow other use of the mana, and that's what I'm doing with Mind Over Matter. So, on top of this, um, this Corrupted Quiver implicit is used to proc Elemental Equilibrium. So when I hit a Blast Rain and the cast and crit procs the spells, this means that Firestorm dealing pure fire damage and Bladefall dealing physical and cold damage will both exchange the elements for Elemental Equilibrium. And on a 5 link, I have started using Arc to proc the third element, so that basically you get a complete mixture of 3 spells with perfect synergy for EE. Now, as to the passive tree, starting as Scion is an interesting choice, but I think given the position of especially these two keystones and the need for crit in the tree, it seems also like sort of an obvious one, and especially given that you need life that you cannot easily get in the eastern side of the tree, the Scion life will help a lot. The start also is very nice in that we can make very good use of the mana for Mind Over Matter. The attack speed is helpful, and on the path basically down to King of the Hill, we grab more mana, jewel sockets, life, crit, some assorted physical damage, more life, acrobatics and phase acrobatics. Since we are not using Eldritch Battery, the reduced energy shield does not actually really affect us. We're not using armor, and we're also, as bow users, not using block. So the rest of the tree is basically just life and bow crit. As for the items used, obviously a quiver with fizz to cold conversion is one of the core concepts. Interestingly enough, you can get these for really cheap. I mean, I got this one for 4 chaos, and it has great critical strike chance and crit multi. Obviously, a lost or a spike point would have 30% implicit crit, but that's what you're giving up. The most expensive thing is probably the 5 link, but this build runs well with just the 4 link, and I would probably take out Arc. And the rest of the gear is also purely rares. So for the bow, obviously a bow with implicit crit and then high explicit crit and attack speed is very useful. The rest of the rolls here are pretty much whatever, except this bow also has good crit multi. Um, I've tried hard to incorporate accuracy where possible, but the remaining gear is basically really just life and resists. As for the further link setup, we have the main 5 link. For 6 links you would probably go life leech, but this build is not at that refined stage that it matters. I'm using Frenzy, GMP, Cousin Hit, Assassin's Mark to apply curses, to apply Assassin's Mark, so that I can get power charges, and Frenzy obviously also keeps up my Frenzy charges. You could grab one more Frenzy charge here to reach a total of 5 or 6 depending on your bandit choices. And the remaining links, I have found very little use in them for the most part. I'm using a Golem with just minion life and blind, blink arrow fast attacks. That's a pretty obvious one. And then I have 2 custom damage taken setups, knockback, ball lightning. This storm call is just leveling in here, and then custom damage taken, increased duration of mortal call. So that pretty much covers how the build is supposed to work. And if you're looking for gameplay, there's a separate video for this that should be right in the description. So overall, this build is certainly a very unique experience for me. It plays in an interesting way in that you can shoot Blast Rain and hit a Frenzy before the Blast Rain actually lands, meaning the enemies will be cursed as soon as the Blast Rain hits. So if you do that, you can actually be on the move the moment the spells proc. And it has very great AoE coverage. It kills packs very well, and because of the fact that Blast Rain has all 4 explosions overlapping on the target point, you can also have good single target without any additional link setups. And other than that, the combination of mind over matter and decent life pool, together with acrobatics and phase acrobatics, has so far served me very well and has resulted in very few deaths in map level. All avoidable ones, like trying Hellblade Fall in the cast and crit, will fare against the Fizz Reflect map. Yeah, I think the most difficult to acquire part of this build is actually a quiver with the required implicit and used for explicit mods. I got this one for very cheap because who needs that? But obviously, the more people try this build, the more scarce these will become. So maybe this build is forever deemed to be hipster. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the gameplay video if you haven't already, and have a nice day.